She was originally charged with that obstructing justice on Friday. There have now been text messages that have been recovered from her phone that appear to be planning the crime in advance. I would note for the court that the messages were deleted from her phone, but they were recovered by law enforcement during a forensic download.
The messages were supposed to be gone. Deleted from a phone, erased from view, perhaps forgotten forever. But according to investigators, when police took a closer look at 18-year-old Bryanna Dutcher's phone, they allegedly found something that would change this case completely. Deleted text messages. Messages prosecutors say contained disturbing discussions about guns, gloves, forensics, and hiding evidence. And at the center of it all was a horrifying accusation. Police say Bryanna may have helped orchestrate the murder of her own mother. Her mother, Tamela Dutcher, was dead, and now her daughter was facing a murder charge alongside two young men accused of taking part in the deadly plot. But what really happened inside that Ohio home? Was this a murder planned in advance? And could the answers investigators were searching for have been hidden inside messages someone believed had disappeared forever? This is the case of Tamela Dutcher. On August 14, 2026, what should have been an ordinary day for a family in Delaware County, Ohio, turned into a nightmare. According to investigators, 55-year-old Tamela Dutcher was inside her home when violence suddenly erupted. She was shot and killed. But the horror reportedly did not end there. Authorities say Tamela's husband, Neil King, was also confronted during the incident. According to the allegations, he was shot at but survived. Somewhere in the confusion and terror, the people responsible allegedly fled. A woman was dead. A husband had survived a terrifying encounter. And investigators were left with a question that would lead them down a dark and deeply disturbing path. Who killed Tamela Dutcher and why? At first, detectives had to reconstruct every moment. Who had been near the house? Who knew Tamela? Who had a possible motive? And was the shooting a sudden act of violence, or had someone been planning it long before the first shot was fired? As police investigated, attention eventually turned toward three young people. 18-year-old Bryanna Dutcher, 20-year-old Christian Evans, and 21-year-old Dajameous Payne. The three would eventually find themselves facing murder charges connected to Tamela's death. But one detail made this case especially shocking. Bryanna wasn't just another suspect. Tamela was her mother. Investigators and prosecutors would later present a theory that the killing was not random. They alleged that there had been planning before the shooting. And according to authorities, one of the most important pieces of evidence may have been sitting inside Bryanna's phone. A phone that investigators would examine forensically. What they allegedly recovered would become the focus of the case. Deleted messages. Messages that prosecutors say revealed conversations about
And text messages have been recovered from her phone that appear to be planning the crime in advance. I would note for the court that the messages were deleted from her phone, but they were...
For investigators, these were not just random words. Prosecutors allegedly saw them as signs that Tamela Dutcher's killing may have been discussed before it happened. That accusation changed everything. Bryanna Dutcher was just 18 years old, but prosecutors now alleged that she was not simply connected to the people accused in the case. They believed she may have helped plan what happened. The other two defendants were Christian Evans, 20, and Dajameous Payne, 21. Investigators began examining the alleged connections between all three. According to the prosecution's theory, there had been communication before the shooting. Detectives allegedly worked to determine who said what when the conversations happened and whether those messages could establish a plan. This is where digital evidence became so important. People often think that deleting a message means it is gone forever. But in a criminal investigation, phones can contain far more information than what appears on the screen. Forensic investigators may be able to recover deleted data, depending on how it was stored and what happened to the device afterward. In this case, authorities say the deleted messages they recovered became part of the evidence supporting the murder charges. But prosecutors still faced a critical challenge. A message by itself does not automatically tell the entire story. They would need to convince a court that the alleged conversations were connected to Tamela's killing and that the defendants acted together as part of a criminal plan. Investigators also looked at what allegedly happened around the Dutcher home. According to authorities, Christian Evans and Dajameous Payne were connected to the events surrounding the shooting. The prosecution's allegations would place all three defendants under intense scrutiny. But one question remained especially important. Who pulled the trigger? Public allegations in court proceedings would have to establish each person's individual role. In cases involving multiple defendants, prosecutors can accuse someone of participating in a murder plot even if that person did not personally fire the weapon, but every allegation must ultimately be tested in court. And for Bryanna, the accusation carried an unimaginable weight. Police were alleging that an 18-year-old daughter had played a role in the killing of the woman who gave her life. Imagine the moment Tamela's family learned that investigators were looking at her own daughter. The tragedy was no longer who wrote each message. What exactly were they referring to? Were investigators interpreting the conversations correctly? And can deleted messages alone prove that someone intended for a murder to happen? Those questions may eventually be answered in court. For now, three young people face devastating allegations. Tamela Dutcher is gone. Her husband survived. And a daughter is now accused of helping orchestrate the killing of her own mother. But the investigation was not finished with its darkest questions. Because behind the murder charge was another mystery, what could possibly have been the motive? And as prosecutors prepare to present their case, the next chapter may reveal the emotional heart of this tragedy. Why would investigators believe a daughter could allegedly become involved in a plot against her own mother? And what happens when this case finally faces a courtroom? That may be the question that hangs over this case longer than any other. Why is Tamela Dutcher dead? Why does her 18-year-old daughter, Bryanna Dutcher, now stand accused of helping orchestrate the murder? And how did two other young men, Christian Evans and Dajameous Payne, allegedly become part of a tragedy that would leave an entire family shattered? For now, investigators and prosecutors have presented their allegations. They believe the evidence points to planning before Tamela was killed, and among the evidence they say they recovered are deleted messages allegedly discussing guns, gloves, forensics, and hiding evidence. But inside a courtroom, allegations are only the beginning. Bryanna Dutcher has denied planning her mother's murder. Christian Evans and Dajameous Payne also have the right to defend themselves against the charges. Like every person accused of a crime, all three are presumed innocent unless and until prosecutors prove their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And that means the real battle is still ahead. The recovered messages could become one of the most important pieces of evidence in this case. Prosecutors may argue that they reveal preparation and intent. The defense may challenge their meaning, their context, or what investigators believe they prove. Every message could be examined. Every conversation could be questioned. Every movement connected to the night Tamela Dutcher died could matter. And somewhere in the middle of all of this legal evidence is something that can never be replaced. A human life. Tamela Dutcher was not simply a name in a court document or the victim at the center of a headline. She was a mother, she was a wife, and the people who loved her are now living with the reality that she will never walk through the door again. Her husband survived, transformed this family forever. This case is also a chilling reminder of the role technology can play in modern criminal investigations. A conversation typed into a phone may seem private. A message can be deleted in seconds, but investigators say deleted information can sometimes leave behind a digital trail. In this case, police believe that trail may help explain what happened before Tamela Dutcher was killed. Now the justice system must determine whether that evidence proves the allegation. And sometimes the truth is hidden in the places people believe no one will ever look. If you believe victims deserve to be remembered and cases like this deserve to be followed carefully, subscribe to World Crime Watch. Turn on your notifications because we bring you the latest developments, the evidence, and the stories behind the headlines. And as this case continues through the justice system, one thing remains certain. Tamela Dutcher's story is not over. This is World Crime Watch, where we follow the facts, remember the victims, and never stop asking the questions that matter.